you may not know this, but because we're a nonprofit, we're not allowed to make any political statements. So I want to tell you, just by way of observation, I'm really not colorblind. But if you are a breast cancer survivor or someone who has advocated for breast cancer, then I am tipping my hat to you. And if you have worked on behalf of women with cervical or ovarian cancer, or women who have been the victims of sexual abuse, or if you stand against sexual abuse for women, then I'm wearing my teal for you. If you were impacted by Harvey and you're an Astros fan, go Stros. I have my Houston Strong pin on my hat for you. So just wanted to let you know, no political statements being made here today. It was just a few months ago that our keynote speaker, Dr. Laura Murillo, received the University of Houston Distinguished Alumni Award, and that I learned about her life journey and her contributions to our community. So we appreciate very much her joining us here today. Having successfully served as in executive positions at the University of Houston and at Memorial Hermann Texas Medical Center, Dr. Murillo was named President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in 2007. With the support of the Chamber Board and staff, she has set absolutely astonishing records, with 950% growth in membership and 1,700% increase in revenue. And we need to recruit her for the HHA. She has done all of this on the way to becoming the largest Hispanic chamber in the country. After her first 2 years at the helm, the chamber won the National and Regional Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of the Year award. Earlier this year, Dr. Murillo was named Woman of the Week by ABC Channel 13. So if a picture is worth 1,000 words, I figure a video must be worth at least 1,000,000 words. And I'd like to share their video with you as a way of further introduction.
It was a tough year for entrepreneurs in Houston.
Houston and Houstonians are resilient. We have discovered that. And I think that's the story that we have, especially entrepreneurs. They don't give up. It's going to take more than a hurricane to slow them down.
The Hispanic community turned to their Chamber of Commerce after Harvey, and Dr. Laura Murillo took to the airwaves for days to help business owners struggling to recover.
The economic output of immigrants in this state is over $70 billion.
Murillo has become a fearless leader in her community. Born and raised in Houston's East End to immigrant parents from Mexico, she says working at her parents' restaurant from the age of 10 helped her learn how to talk to anyone.
And I'm the beneficiary of two extraordinary parents that instill in me that anything is possible in this great country.
Murillo has grown Houston's Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to the largest in the U.S.
You have to surround yourself, as my father would say, with people who are smarter than you are. And that makes all of this a lot easier. I don't do anything on my own.
The youngest of 9 children is dedicated to grooming new talent behind her through the Emerging Leaders Institute.
It doesn't matter to us whether or not they are Hispanic. We're looking for leaders. I think another great feather in our cap is that we are about Houston and we are diverse. 40% of our board is non-Hispanic.
Murillo looks back at her education as a big part of where she is today, earning a bachelor's, master's, and PhD from the University of Houston. A wall full of honors includes the highest honor bestowed by the Mexican government for her civic leadership. But she says her priority is being the proud mother of 2 daughters, Marissa and Mia, ages 19 and 15.
And from the mindset that we make time for those things that are important to us, and I've made time for them.
And she's passed on to them the 3 words she lives by: people, passion, and persistence.
So run with people that can help you run faster.
Let's do this. Let's stand up. I want to see who we have in the audience. Let's get up right now, please. Let's get excited. You're going to have a phenomenal day. And let's get some good energy in this room. Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it for agitating, advocating, and educating. Yes, let's get going. Did you have your coffee? Did you have your juice? If that didn't work, go grab a donut. Do something. I want to say thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. I know already just by looking out into this room and the fact that you're here on a Saturday morning, that you are already agitating, advocating, and educating. Because so often, those of us who participate in these types of initiatives, our heart's already there. We are committed. And what I'd like to ask you to do as you move forward is when you attend these events, bring someone with you, especially young women. We need to make sure that they understand how powerful their voice is, especially today. And speaking of powerful women and having a voice, I want to introduce my favorite daughter in this auditorium, Mia Murillo. Stand up, Mia Murillo. Mia is a sophomore at St. John's School. She's a straight-A student, and just this last year as a sophomore, she received the Maverick Award. It is a leadership award and typically not bestowed upon you until you're usually a junior or senior. Congratulations, Mia. And to my favorite daughter in New York City, Marisa, who is her second-year student studying mechanical engineering and astrophysics at Columbia University, my regards to her and her success as well. But I want to talk to you today about people, passion, and persistence. Those are the three words that brought me to you today. I want to talk to you about a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old who came to this country with no money, no education, did not speak English. He worked as a laborer, earning 50 cents an hour. She dedicated her life as a mother, caring for 9 children with only a second-grade education, illiterate but hardworking. They raised those 9 children who all had the same opportunity in this great country we call America. I stand before you as their proud, I'd like to say, favorite of 9, the youngest of 9. And I learned so much from my parents. And I know we're here today, and so much of what we're going to talk about is women and the important role they play. And absolutely, my mother, God bless her, she dedicated everything she had and everything she was to us. And my father, I must say, played a huge role in my life, whether I realized it at the time or whether he realized it. My father was 6'5". Now that's real tall for a Mexican. He had a strong, assertive, get things done personality. My mother was all of 4'6" if she had on heels. And even though they were from the same town in Mexico, my mother was fair-skinned and green-eyed. And she was the kindest woman. Very different from my father. And I had the grand privilege of, after my father had worked for years, earning just 50 cents an hour as a laborer, to see this man start his own little business doing the same thing, laying tile. But he was a visionary. And he was able to take that, sell it, and open up a restaurant. And because my brother had served in Vietnam, they were able to pull money together. And if you know any good Hispanic mother, you know she's got a coffee can in that kitchen with some money tucked away. And they opened up a restaurant on Harrisburg. And I was able to work there from the time I was 10 until I graduated from college. And I learned how to work. And I learned how to be with people. I learned from my father how important it was to be passionate, and I learned persistence. And that has carried me throughout my career. I didn't know if I was going to college. The natural thing would have been to stay in the family business. That's hard work. But I saw women, like someone who was mentioned earlier, like Olga Solis, like Dr. Dorothy Karam, like Dr. Tacho Mendiola. And I saw the influence they had and the opportunity they had to certainly serve as leaders and mentors to others. And I thought, I want to motivate people. I want to inspire. I want to have influence. I want to agitate, advocate, and educate. And what I saw was 2 letters in front of their names. DR. I grew up in Houston's East End, went to Austin High School, an HISD school. I was a good student. By 11th, 12th grade, I was a better student. My teachers, my counselors took great interest in me. Because of them, I was admitted into Harvard, Stanford, and Yale. I went home, told my parents, and my father, as the head of the household, said, "Well, that's good. You don't have to sleep there, do you?" And I said, "Well, yes, Daddy, of course I do." And my mom says, "Jail? Oh no, why are you going to jail?" I said, "No, not jail, Yale. Ah, qué bueno, mija, I'm so worried. But you know what? I didn't go to Harvard, Stanford, or jail. I went to the University of Houston. Go Cougs. And I didn't know at the time the opportunity that had presented itself to me. I didn't know. I had the utmost respect for my parents, and if they said no, then it was no. And my father said, "You want to go to college?" Anywhere in the Houston area. And I do believe that God has a plan for us. And the plan was for me to stay here to anchor my roots in this city. I'm sure I'd have a very different life had I gone the other route. And so one thing I say is don't look back. Trust that there's a plan for you. And it's not where you go to school. It's not where you grew up. It's not where you came from. It's where you end up. Through my career at the University of Houston, I was able to earn a master's. And then I had this thought, can I go back to school? Can I get this doctorate? And I carried that application for 6 months in my purse because I wasn't confident that I could do all that math and take the classes. I was married at the time. I had a 2-year-old daughter. I was caring for my mother. And I went to seek help, talked to someone at the school. He sat in a very tall chair and made sure that the chair I sat in was lower than his. He looked down at me as he spoke to me. He looked at my academic record and said, "Oh, you went to that school in the barrio, Austin High School. Wow. Don't you work here? I think you work here." At the time I worked at U of H. "Yes, sir." "You're going to quit your job?" "No, sir. I'm going to school full-time. I'm going to school full-time. I'm going to work full-time." He said, "Well, people like you start the PhD program, they don't finish. You know, there's a lot of math. You know, it costs a lot of money. Have you talked to your husband about this?" Well, agitating, advocating, and educating. And I looked at him and I stood up from that chair and I said, "Sir, I came here for you to counsel me and give me suggestion, but clearly I'm talking to the wrong person." And I walked out. You can clap. We got to let me clap him back here. And I was all big and strong, but as soon as I walked the corner, I started crying. And I thought, he's right. I cannot do this. Am I crazy? He validated everything I already believed. But I thought, if my parents could do what they did, come to this country with nothing, who is this one man to tell me I can't do this? And it motivated me to fill out that application, to turn it in, and every semester, while I was going to school full-time and working school full-time and taking care of the 2-year-old and taking care of my mommy, I wrote a note on my straight A's that I received every semester that said, just thought you'd like to know how the girl from the barrio is doing. Slid it under his door. Fast forward, working toward all of this, and I'm pregnant with second child, Mia. Going to school, doing all of these things, preparing the last portion of my doctorate, which was the worst part, statistical analysis. Okay, I don't know who thought combining numbers and letters was a good idea, but I don't think it is, and I don't think it's necessary for most careers. So I thought, oh no, this is it. And when I say pregnant women, I truly mean pregnant. Now, let me step back. I'd been at the University of Houston at that time about 12 years, and I was on a fast track. They promoted me every 2 years. I'm talking to women here. There is a double standard. I hid my pregnancy for 5.5 months because I was up for a promotion. Not because I had to, but because at the time, I believed that I might not get that promotion if they knew I was pregnant and going to school full-time. And I got promoted on a Thursday. I came back to work on a Monday. And on Monday, I no longer wore my big blazer that was covering everything up. Paperwork had been signed. I was good. Oh, and they said, what happened to you? I said, oh, I didn't tell you guys I'm 5.5 months pregnant. But as women, sometimes we have to make those kind of decisions, unfortunately. So fast forward, I'm wrapping up my doctorate, I'm getting ready to go, I've got another semester, I've got to take this big exam. It is the most difficult. I didn't understand it. Some of you are old enough to remember something called a tape recorder. So I would sit up front with my pregnant self and have all of my snacks because I was always hungry and I was so stressed out, and I'd have my recorder and I'd leave class, I'd listen to it, Post-its on the restroom wall, Post-its on the microwave, anywhere my eyes would make contact to remember these formulas. Sundays dedicated to studying, study group, 8 to 10:30, library, same place all the time. People, passion, persistence. They left at 10:30. I ate a huge lunch. I had snacks for the rest of the day with my pregnant self. Stayed until the library closed at 10 o'clock at night. Fast forward. It's almost time to take the test. I'm sitting with my professor and I say, Dr. Weber, I don't understand your class. And he was a big, strong, assertive man. Remember my father? I could handle him. And he tried to intimidate me with his, assertive. I said, are you finished? Yes. What part don't you understand? I don't understand any of it. Are you kidding? I said, no, it's very hard for me. I'm trying, but it's hard. He helped me, gave me some more instruction, more guidance. And I'd go back to the library every Sunday. And just as I thought I'm getting close to the finish line, I receive a call from the hospital. My mother, my rock, my supporter, my cheerleader, has suffered a massive heart attack. 95% blockage in her heart, given 2 to 3 days for me to prepare her funeral. I was devastated. Now, this is the woman who, even though she didn't have more than a second grade education and was illiterate, sat me down when I told her, "Mommy, I want to go back to school. I want to get this doctorate." And she said, "Mija, sit down. I need to talk to you." I said, "Mommy, what do you need to talk about?" She said, "I'm worried about your job." I said, "My job?" She says, "I think you need another job, a different job." I said, "No, I love working at the University of Houston." She said, "Well, do they like you?" And I said, "Well, yes. I don't think they like you because they keep sending you back to school." But my sweet mother, as I was approaching the end of this, suffers a massive heart attack, and I am so stressed. If you can appreciate working full-time, going to school full-time, having a daughter, and now caring for my mother even more than I already was. And I prayed about it, and the university sent me a medical withdrawal form and said, "Just come back next year." I had every reason not to persist, right? But I took those huge 3-ring notebooks with me, and I sat in the ICU waiting room, and I said, "Dear God, do not take my mother." I took that comprehensive exam for 5 hours on a Saturday. Went back to the hospital, prayed that my mother would live. Weeks passed, she was still in ICU. She didn't pass. I received a phone call. It was the dean of the University of Houston College of Education. "Sorry to report that only 4 of the 40 people who took the exam passed. We made it harder this year." Great. Of course you're going to make the test harder the year I take it. I'm so sorry that so many did not pass. I want to congratulate you, Dr. Laura Murillo. You passed. To which I said, "Please check my social security number again to make sure it's me." He said, "Don't worry, we checked 3 times. It's definitely you." And going back to persistence, remember I told you I'd stay in that library? Remember I told you there was a man who told me I could not do it and I was from the barrio and called me a girl? What I didn't know was that I was sitting in that library. His son was a teacher's assistant and had an office, and he was scheduled to work on Sundays to monitor the library. When they found out about these test results and how only 4 had passed, the son and the father began talking, and somehow it came up that there was one Hispanic pregnant woman who had passed. Well, of the 40 of us, I was the only Hispanic and definitely the only big pregnant one. And he said, "Yeah, she's been studying all day, every Sunday for months." So when the question came up among the faculty about what had happened, and of course the other 3 men were full-time students, were very smart, and of course they passed. But how did the pregnant Mexican do it? And it was that same professor who spoke up on my behalf and said, "Do you know how she passed? She worked harder." And he became my biggest advocate and still is today. So we must educate, we must agitate, we must advocate for ourselves and most importantly for others. My mother survived her heart attack. My mother attended my graduation. My mother lived to see Mia and Marisa to grow into being 11, 13 years old. And she said to me when I crossed that stage, she said, "Mija, you finished with school now?" I said, "Yes, Mommy, I'm finished." Passion, people, and persistence will get you far. We must, especially as women, serve as that example to our daughters, to other women, and most especially to men. They need to hear They need to be part of helping us achieve our goals. We must work together. And I stand before you as the proud parent of immigrant parents who came here with nothing. As a woman who has traveled the world representing Houston, I've had many challenges. I could keep you here all day, but I won't. But what I have is faith that there is a plan for each and every one of us. So on behalf of my parents, my two lovely daughters, I say thank you for being here today. Thank you for advocating. Thank you for agitating. Thank you for educating. Thank you. Thank you.